In the previous video, we talked about the need of the governments of the modern nations to increase the number of citizens by giving incentives to families to have new children and to increase the number of the population, to increase even the wealth of the modern world. Well, I was born in this climate, in this social climate, and I'm so ashamed of my own family and of my own mother who thought that having children was just a way to cooperate to um, the need of the nation to increase itself. Well, I wonder that I wonder if a woman can be really degraded into a baby baking machine. Can the future of a nation, even if it is one step away from extinction, really be entrusted to a program of forced reproduction where in all this bestial propaganda is the respect for life that the opponents of abortion praise so much. Life is not respected by giving it indiscriminately left and right, to the left and to the right, especially when you know you can take care of it in the best way. When in the throes of one of my bouts of depression, I accused my mother of giving birth. Despite her not being able to love me, she accused me of sinning in the name of all the basic principles of ethics, religion, society and politics, and whatever else. Perhaps all the words of rhetoricians and preachers will ever be worth something in the face of the unhappiness of a child who grows up in an environment that is unable to cure him and make him mature without trauma or unnecessary suffering. To this mass hysteria, which, with the cry of "let's save ourselves from extinction," sends new breeding bulls and cows ready to bow the laws of the sovereign state to graze. I oppose the citizen's right to the happiness. So, if a nation is following its own placid and silent path to natural extinction, well, let it die. The taboo of death has already caused too many slaughters. If a man does not learn to accept it and not to be afraid of it, paradoxically, more and more unhappy, unstable beings will be born, threatening precisely for the approval of those who fight to bring them to life, the most degraded environments. So should I then, Mom, be grateful to you for giving me life a priori? Does anyone really care how much I have suffered? And when I still have to suffer, the important thing is to live, I'm told. Where there is life, there is hope. And so saying, the new generation plunge themselves into an abyss of cynicism, indifference, violence, and hypocrisy. Let's talk now about my childhood in Milan, in the north of Italy. I apologize to anyone who has felt bothered by this brief ethical social regression of life on life and reproduction. It is right that I talk about it and that it still intervenes in the following chapters about what I consider a plug in the modern world, precisely because I experience its harmful and counterproductive effects on my skin every day. I am not saying that my parents were the worst parents in the world. I think they both belonged, indeed, to the majority of young people in love, rather lukewarmly, okay, and inexperienced and united by the illusion of a happy and fulfilling future. It always happens like this. Even if the little flower appears in the full smelling and marshy ground of a latrine, it always dreams of reaching the stars in the middle of the sky. In the middle of the sky, it spreads its puff of perfume and then withers with hope that some other planet after it will reach the longing stars. So my deluded parents left for Milan for about 2 years with me and my little brother of just 1 year old. I was about 3 years old. My father had been moved there for work, and for the first time was separated for a long time from his omnipresent mom. In Milan I also started kindergarten and immediately experienced what it means to live with children of my age. Well, it was a trauma of which of course no one understood the full gravity. It is very difficult to analyze the major pains and difficulties of such a small child, and not because they are to be underestimated given the tender age of the subject. More trivially, it would take too sharp an eye to penetrate deeply into such a concentrated, tiny, apparently confused universe. Few succeed, even if for their particularly trained and developed sensitivity would be enough. My parents were told that I was simply more shy than my peers and that my teachers used an eye on me. Nobody worried that much if I never opened my mouth. If I stood in a corner without taking part in other people's games, if even to make me drink a drop of water or to make me go to the bathroom, the teachers were forced to obtain an almost absent, forced after 10 minutes of rehearsals and courtship. Inside of me, I was suffering. I wanted to go home, knowing that there would be nothing at home to rejoice in. An absent father, a mother who was already taking care of only her second child. Then came another school torture, one that in all these years I have not been able to get out of my head. It was the torture of the afternoon nap. I still have the checkered cover from those years, the one on which my mother embroidered my name. It was a kind of sheet on which my mother embroidered my name so that I would not lose it, and which for a whole year I was forced to share it with a handicapped child in my class. I think he was a poor child or a little cared for by his parents because he didn't even have a blanket, and consequently he slept in turns under those of one of his companions. It takes turns to say, because in the end the one who could never escape the thankless task was me. I didn't like sharing my blanket. That baby stank. It was it was annoying. It, it was annoying. It kept me from closing an eye even after I spent the whole hours stiff with my eyes open, turned against the wall. The teachers took advantage of my silence to support that weight when all the other children in chorus refused to share their blanket. So they say, Raffaella is always silent, Raffaella is good, and will stay calm while his little friend sleeps next to him. My heart was in my throat as the nap time approached. I think it was one of the first indelible violence that the outside world had ever inflicted on my psyche. Already then, that was already then sick. Thank you for listening and see you in the next video.